welcome to HarpyStitch. This is Amy. Either welcome because you're new or welcome back. I hope some of you have watched more than one. I am filming today on July 24th. There will be a bit of a delay while my husband edits various elements of the video. Hopefully you are enjoying them. Please like, comment, or subscribe. I started doing this because I am obsessed with cross stitch. I pretty much cross stitch all the time if I'm at home. Really don't like to go anywhere unless I have a project to do. And I was on Instagram for a really long time, and then I kind of slacked off on doing anything with it. And then I saw the Flosstubers had Instagram, so I became active again. My Instagram is Harpy Queen. I've interacted with a few of you on there, and it's been really fun. And I wanted to thank Cinematic Stitches because since I just have been doing the basic bare bones version of Instagram, I had no idea how to add links. And she gave me a really simple explanation on how to do it, which was super helpful. And that was great. Thank you very much, Michaela. I really appreciated it.
Thank you! Oh, yeah. It's your professionalism that I respect.
I thought I would talk a little bit about some of the things that I do, like what I do with my orts, which I also learned in Flosstube that they were called orts instead of just, I call them remnants for a long time. But I know a lot of people have different things they do with them. Different stores have big orts containers that people put in. So I thought I would show you what I do with mine. I had seen somebody do some projects and do little, like the Christmas ornament balls, and they would fill them with their leftover thread, and I thought that was really cute, but I sew way too much for that to fit. And I found a cute little glass container at Michael's and started filling it up, and then it got full way before a year was up. So I went and found another jar, and it ended up with a crack in it, and then they didn't have any more. So my solution was this, one of the collectible glass blocks for different things. I started this in January of 2021, and when I fill it up all the way, almost there, I will put the month and the year here. We have a kitten that we adopted in September, and he didn't mess with this much to begin with. Sorry, had to put it down, it's heavy. But recently he's decided that if I leave the top open, he needs to pull all the thread out and try to play with it. So now I have to remember every time to put the lid on so that the cat does not commit cross-stitch crimes. He does try to eat it. And he's Mr. Crimes now because he's always getting into messes. So that is what I do with my orts. I also haven't been using project bags, but now with Mr. Crimes around, I ordered some project bags from Temu. They're just plain plastic zippy ones, but they haven't gotten here yet. Maybe one day I'll get the nice fancy handmade ones like from Gowron or many of the other people who make them. I can spend money on a project bag that's $25, $30, or I can get more stuff that I can stitch. So I tend to go with the stuff that I can stitch. I don't have any needle minders, something that annoys my husband to no end. He's always afraid of stepping on needles. But I do have this little pen. I've had this pen since I was a little kid. I'm not sure when I got it. I was a big fan of the Black Stallion when I was a kid, and I don't know if this was made for the Black Stallion or if it just looks like the Black Stallion. But it's, just the old lapel pen. So I think I might pop that off, the back off, and then put a magnet on it and turn it into a needle minder. So at least that I have one, although I'm not sure. I mean, you can knock needles off a magnet just as well as you can knock it out of the fabric. So, but everybody seems to think they're helpful. So this week I do not have any finished objects, though I did get the supplies to frame my scarecrow silhouette. So maybe I will have that for you next time. I didn't want to get it, try to do it in a rush and mess it up. So I decided to hold off on it just a little bit longer. I did finish my Shawshank Redemption sampler. My husband will enter it here. As we were editing the last video, if you watched that one, you will see that we got an order for the next one as we were coming. So I pretty much put everything aside and worked on nothing but that. So I didn't get as much progress on my projects as I would like on the other ones anyway. I did take one day off during that so I could do the Stitch for Sage Saturday that was going on. But other than that, I worked on the Shawshank Redemption sampler until it was completely done, and then I mailed it off last Friday. So that was my only finish. Now for whips. I've been really having fun using the Tiny Decisions app. I haven't started doing whip go yet because I haven't had enough whips to go. I think to fill it up, but I think I might switch to that if I get a few more projects. I know there's some other starts that I'd like to do, but I'm also not sure how it would work with my teaching schedule and working on the weekends during the school year. So I haven't fully decided if I'm going to do any whip go. If anybody who is also a teacher does whip go, how do you balance the time and meet your goals to fit that in with all of your responsibilities as a teacher? So my first whip, you might notice that it looks a little bit better than the last two videos. We are now in 1080p. Ooh. So everything is going to be more clear, more wrinkly, more bonus fibers, all of that. So Dead Outlaw Female by Night Spirit Studios. This project got most of my attention after the Shawshank sampler. It is on 14 count fiber flare pecan. It is done 2/1, and I started it on June 25th of this year. From the last time that you saw her, she now has legs and the entire base is done. And I've gotten to start on the columns. So once I get all of that done, I will add in the date and the writing. And I think there is a bell up here. And I think I'm going to also do it in the étoile because it would have been metal as well. So I'm hoping that it pops really nicely. I'm really liking the way that she's looking. No, Mr. Crimes, do not jump at that. Don't even. Mr. Kitty, come here. All right. Guest star Mr. Crimes because he is looking at whip number 2, wanting to attack it. You cannot attack it. No attacking. This is Dwemer, but his new name is Mr. Crimes. All right. I'm gonna don't. All right, go to your bed. Go on. All right. Whip number 2 is Dancing in the Moonlight by Praiseworthy Stitches. It is on Picture This Plus Mystic, 36 count. No, cat. Don't even think it. Just having a little cat aggro. Good boy. I'm doing it 2/2, and I started it on May 29th of this year. I'm using all the called for colors except for one that my LNS was out of. I didn't get very much further. I did finish the bird, which I think is probably really hard to see, except for his beak. And then I started the outline of some 2 new tombstones. I had some other things I had to do the day that this was pulled from Tiny Decisions, and so I didn't get very much done on it. I did have it on a scroll bar, but I don't have a really good stand where I can just flip it over and I have to like lift it up and hold it up to tie off the threads. So I was getting frustrated with that, which is I think one reason I didn't want to work on it. So I've now put it in a hoop to make it a little bit easier to manage. I'm really hoping to get one of those nice where you put the hoop and or the scroll bar and you can just flip it and spin it. That would be super nice. All right. What, you want more pets? Okay. I know you didn't get to go out for your normal midday potties because the guys were out there working on the balcony above us and cutting things and throwing them down on the ground. I'll let you out in a minute, okay? Go lay down. Go to your place. Go to your place, sweet boy. Jester, go lay down. Or do you really need to go potty that bad? Okay. Come on. That's what I'm going to do.
Don't you do it.
You did it, you naughty shit. Cross-stitch criminal. Whip number 3. Wisdom Stocking by Hade. The art is by Cherry Gerhardt, and it was charted by Michelle Sayeta. It is on 25 count white Lugana because it will be full coverage, so color doesn't matter. It is 2/1, and I started it on March 1st. The progress that I made was basically filling in this brown right here. It is very tight in there, but I think that'll be good for a stocking. So it'll be nice and sturdy and hopefully will last my kiddo a really long time. All right, whip number 4. This is the whip I got to work on right after I finished my Shawshank sampler. I've been wanting to work on it for quite some time. This is the Overlook Hotel Sal. It was designed by Robin Allen, and it was from the Kingverse cross stitch group on Facebook. It is on 32 count Stormy Cloud Belfast linen. It is 2/2, and I started it on July 5th. I am using the called floor 4 colors. Their next stitch along will be an It themed stitch along. Last time you saw this, I had a teeny tiny part of the window right here. Don't think I will need to back stitch after all. There should be some stitching here that is part of just the tower, but I wanted to get to the top of the project so that I could just get to the top. I really wanted to reach that goal. This is the other one that I kind of cheated a little bit. I was working on something else, but we were watching Joe Bob Briggs' Last Drive-In, and I was like, I need to work on a horror themed project for that while I was stitching while we watched the movie. So I did switch and do this one on that day too. Okay, it has been a very adventurous day in Flosstube land today. Power outage, cross-stitch crime on film. We are trying to record the rest of the video now before our food gets here because I was going to make sausage, beans, and rice, but to do that properly, it takes a while. And with the power outage, couldn't start it on time. So we're going to try to finish up before our order gets here. And I'll just make sausage, beans, and rice tomorrow. Whip number 5 is my Goth Temp Stitch Along by gothstitch.com. I got all the way to the 22nd. I think I'm one day behind at this point. It is on 28 count. Picture This Plus French Lilac. It is 2/2. And I started the books at least on January 6th. I can't remember if I had the whole border done at the beginning of the year or if I kind of finished it as I went around the books. Here is me immortalizing my cat friend Dwemer. And I am really looking forward to getting back to the cold months so I can get some of these pretty turquoises and blues in there again. Final whip number 6. This is the Yule Pentacle by Kix Stitches from Etsy. It is on 28 count very smoky linen, or excuse me, very smoky white casual linen. It is 1/1, and I started this on July 5th. It is still in its suit because it is the project that I pulled on my Tiny Decisions app to work today. I have gotten a little bit further on the top apex of the pinnacle, and then these are the beginnings of the berries, and there's a leaf. So I've gotten a little bit more added on that, and I will keep working on that today after we finish recording. Now we're going to move into haul. Most of the haul I have is what I mentioned earlier, the framing supplies for my finished piece, um, the project bags that I'm waiting on to arrive, which are just going to be plastic, not very exciting to look at. And then I got all of the thread for my Horror Fly Stitch Along from Noctiflora Designs. I am so excited for August 4th when the frame comes out. And I will probably ignore Tiny Decisions that day and just start on the new project. That is really all my haul. I don't have anything to show. I did also order from Temu some labels for my DMC floss bobbins. So I'm going to see if they stick on any better than the ones DMC makes. All right, so, oh wait, my hauls got mixed in with my plans. So this, and I will have my husband insert a copy, a different picture. I ordered from, let me see, where did I order it from on Etsy? Nenny Designs. I think that's how you say it. It is just a banner of for Nightmare Before Christmas. And the next thing I ordered from Etsy was Sepida from Marumi Designs. It is an Iranian inspired motif. Sepida means the first light of the day, and she designed this in honor of the Iranian women who are fighting to get equal rights. I thought this was beautiful, and when she talked about it, I was like, that is really awesome. I had a piece of fabric that I had originally bought for the Dead Outlaw couple. This Yellowstone by Needle Bling. But it didn't feel quite right. So, because what I really wanted was the pecan. But I think that this will work great with Sapita. But what I want to do is instead of stitch the white part, which is what is intended to be stitched, I want to flip it. And I want to take and do the negative space. So where the blue is, I would stitch the twilight colors for the sky. I'm going to be using some variegated thread from DMC. And then the white part would be the yellow sticking out so it looks more like the light of the sun. I thought that would look really cool. My other thing that I want to do in plans is also using that yellow fabric because I figured it out, and if I'm very careful when I cut, I can get both projects on that and use one piece for both of them. The next thing I want to do, and I've been looking at her for a long time. This is from 2008 in cross stitch and needlework. Is this Nora Corbett, the Halloween Fairy? I've had this magazine since 2008 and have just never gotten started. And I think she would look beautiful on the yellow again instead of the bland tan, which looks lovely on that too. So those are two of the things that I want to start soon if I can find time with school about to start. I've been stitching way too much. I know you say no such thing, but my hands started to mess with me and is getting tired because I'm stitching so much of the day. But at the same time, it's summer break. And once school starts up and I'm working 7 days a week again, I won't get as much stitching time. So I'm trying to cram in as much stitching as I can before school starts again. Before I get to my shout outs, I want to show you where I am with my quilt. I love the fabric and we've gotten all the triangles cut out. So I wanted to show you that, and we will start stitching it together next week. So I'm very excited. You can ignore this if you don't care about quilting. My quilt. It's going to be a carpenter wheel quilt. We will start putting these together into the squares next week. I love the jellyfish on the black. This is a hand-dyed purple. And then this is just like a light purple color. And this will also be the background. And then I have a really pretty blue, which I've shown you before, but I'm just very excited because the cutting part seems to be the part that takes the longest. So cannot wait to see what this looks like all put together. Next is shout outs. These are some of the floss tubers that I've really been enjoying. Kitschy Whips, also known as Maggie. She is hilarious. She comes up with these crazy, funny openings and skits to open each episode. She has some great projects. She loves bold fabrics, has lots of mirabilias working. She is an avid pattern collector as well. Kind of like Pokemon, you got to catch them all. I have been watching Sunshine Stitchers as well. Of course, I think everybody in FlossTube knows them, Shelia and EJ. I went back to the beginning and also got to see Gary from Gowron Stitches. And I will also start working through those videos as well with Gary and Ron. I really enjoy the camaraderie and the friendship that they have. It's one of the things that made me want to get involved in the cross stitch community here on YouTube and on Instagram. It just, everybody's so friendly. And, I don't really have anybody near me that shares my obsession. And so it would be nice to have some people that I could talk about with it. I know my husband, he's very supportive. He always appreciates what I do and what I turns out with, but it is just not his area of interest. Excuse me. And I know he sometimes gets tired of hearing me talk about it because he does not share my obsession. Um, and, that's totally fine. And he's helping with the video. And as I said, he's super supportive, but he doesn't want to hear all about the counts and the colors and all that stuff. It's just, he's like, oh my God, I want to be supportive, but please stop. He doesn't actually say it, but I know he's thinking it sometimes, but that's okay. EJ and Shelia also have great projects, and Gary did too when he was on there. And I'm sure all of his great projects just moved to his new FlossTube channel. So, another person I've been watching is Bohemian Stitchery, Nancy. She has a huge variety of projects, so many whips, lots of enthusiasm for it, always looking for new projects. She used to teach embroidery, and I think it would be really cool if maybe she did some tutorial videos. Now I will move on to my book recommendations. I have one nonfiction for grown-ups and then another children's book. So I have Audible and I have Amazon Prime, and this was a book that was available to me on audiobook through Prime for free. It is called, and I have to read this because it is a super long title, Nobody, Casualties of America's War on the Vulnerable from Ferguson to Flint and Beyond by Mark Lamont Hill. I could not remember that all in one take. So it is a really good book. It looks at the pattern of our system and the laws and how the laws changing have negatively affected people of all vulnerable groups in America, race, culture, LGBTQ, female, people who are mentally ill, anything like that, and how it has changed. Like we talk about, you have to have a reason to go search somebody's house, and they used to have a warrant to knock, and you had to knock before you went in, and they keep loosening the rules, and how this affects and makes people more vulnerable. Like this is exactly why Breonna Taylor got shot in her bed, because they didn't have to double check the address, things like that, and how it can result in accidental deaths. It can result in things that shouldn't happen, and that there's no real defense for the vulnerable people in our community. It looks at how capitalism and unfettered capitalism has affected our justice system. Like, no, but people don't really get public trials. Plea bargaining is actually used as a weapon against the accused, even if they are innocent. And how, one person was talking about how they did 1,500 cases in a year because they just pled them all out to be as efficient as possible, not to get to the truth, not to make sure that they're innocent or anything, just to crank out the numbers and get them through the system as fast as possible. It's looking at all of these things and how things have changed. And it was really interesting. And some of the protections that I thought I had don't really exist anymore because courts have said, oh no, we need to make it easier for the police to do their job. So we're gonna to make this easier for them because it's too hard for them. And how, there's a business mindset in the justice system and how it gets slave labor. And it was really eye-opening and really interesting. If you have any interest in social justice or anything in how the American system works, this would be worth a read for you. He does it in a way where it's not as depressing as my summary is making it sound. Just really informative, and he does it in a very approachable way. It's not, over your head kind of talking. My second is a children's book, a middle grade book called Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes. It is realistic fiction, a little bit of historical fiction because there's a little bit of not time jumping in the story, but we look through the history and through time. It is the story of a boy named Jerome who is 12 years old and who is shot by a police officer when the police officer mistakes his toy gun for a real one. The story is told through, sorry, it's a hard one for me to talk about. It upsets me every time. The story is told through the eyes of his ghost. And he's hanging around with his family because he's not ready to go. He meets the ghost of Emmett Till and many other young men. He also meets Sarah, the daughter of the police officer who shot him. And you get to see through her eyes how she's dealing with what her father has done. Rhodes does not vilify the police officer in this story. I can't imagine how she managed to do that, as she is a person of color. And I'm sure that this is a very personal story for her. So it makes me admire her all the more that she was able to tell this story without just making the police officer look like he was just evil. We did it as a school-wide read aloud a few years ago in my middle school that I was teaching at the time. And I cried when I read it silently. I read it to my kids out loud during advisory, and I bawled right in front of them, and not ashamed. And a couple of them got, I guess our food's here. So I shall say adieu. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you next time. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.